Right, dude.
What's up, you
Oh
fuck?
shit. What's up, man?
Dude,
Let's see. Okay, so I'm trying to dial in Antonio now. This has to work. I've done it before. I think it was even like maybe even 4 or 5 people.
dude, here we go.
Yes.
Oh,
Hey, you
yes.
know what? You know what? In the words of Shaggy, it wasn't me.
I don't know, man.
Motherfucker.
I like what's going on? Is it something maybe like we have to accommodate as far as like John? Do you have an older phone? Is this like an Android type situation? What's going on?
I'm looking at it right now. It says iPhone 1.7.
Ah.
Wow,
So I think
it's a beautiful thing.
that's like the newest model, right? That's like the newest one.
Yeah.
There's a one in there at least. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
He
Shit, dude.
picked up Grace's Fisher Price.
Yeah, I'm dialed in from one of those like old school radios, CB radio.
Dude, somehow it's insane because it looks like you guys are actually right next to each other. Like there's kind of an aesthetic behind it to where like I feel like you're in the same room too, so it works. Like
Honestly,
just a couple of buddies right next to each other.
He's right here.
Oh
Yeah,
shit! Okay, that's what it is.
I'm doing like a little thing right here.
Like a puppet maneuver. Dude, okay, so I kind of preface this by saying to Antonio that like I literally have never owned these movies, and I watched probably the first one and part 3 when I was younger, and I was just like, dude, these movies kind of suck. And I'm really happy that like we're taking this opportunity and like just kind of getting right to it and talking these movies. So like as far as your guys' introduction, where do you remember Nightmare on Elm Street coming to you?
First of all, I just want to say, great start. These movies kind of suck. You know what? They do kind of suck. I mean,
It's not going to be my answer
movies.
from here on out. I'm just saying my memory of like being a young kid and like, oh man, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre and I love fucking, like all this shit. Like just for whatever reason, these movies didn't click with me, and I watched these recently, and I'm honestly psyched to talk these because like there's a lot of awesome shit going on and not so awesome shit. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So Antonio, you kick it off.
I was thinking about this like a ton. I actually think that the first introduction to A Nightmare on Elm Street was through my parents. I think that they had rented, and it wasn't the first one. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Dream Warriors, because I remember that group of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched that along with like Hellraiser 2 one night because they had rented it from the Blockbuster, like the movie gallery or whatever. And yeah, it freaked the fuck out of me. Both of those movies actually really, I mean, to this day, Hellraiser actually really, really bothers me. But,
And Hellbound
but
too, yeah.
Yeah, so like that was my introduction to Freddy Krueger. Was that I was really young too. I want to say I was probably like 7 or 8.
To this day, Antonio cuddles up next to his wife and has like a pillow ready to go just in case like one of the scary parts comes on. Like I tried to watch part 5 with Antonio once, and it was weird. He like wet the bed. It was,
Fuck you.
But yeah, so I was around 7 or 8 as well, and my brothers and I would always go to the horror section of the video store.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a mom and pop video store that was kind of by our house, called Visions in Video.
So sick.
And we would just always go to the horror section and look at like Chucky movies, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Blob. I remember The Blob was like one of the ones that like we saw the box and we were like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy. At 7 years old, we were like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy.
Still.
So Nightmare on Elm Street, like my mom would just like never let us rent any of these movies. And then one day she let us rent part 4. And I don't know why we chose part 4. Maybe it was because of like the box artwork or like the photos on the back. Like that's like really what got us interested in movies. It was just by looking at like the box, you know, like at the video store. And so we rented 4, and I remember it not being scary at all. We thought it was just fucking cool. Like, we just thought it was so cool, this movie. And we'll get into part 4. I know it's one of the ones that we're going to do.
Yeah.
But I just kind of watched them all out of order at that point. I think I started with 4, then I watched 6, which had recently come out in that time, because I was like around 7 years old when that came out.
17 years old when that came out.
I was around
1.7.
Yeah.
So on my 71st birthday, Freddy's Dead came out, and you know, I'm pushing 100 now, so it's kind of crazy. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, it was 4, 6, then 1, then 3,
Jesus. Okay.
then 5, then 2.
Damn. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I feel like the introduction, honestly, was like the USA Network. You know, right around Halloween when they were doing like all the, you know, like the kind of thematic, you know, they would have 1 through 4 of this, and then they'd have Child's Play. And I feel like that was like the first time that I discovered watching these movies. And then maybe even more prominently would have been part 3, and it was Dream Warriors. And like my one buddy Ryan, like my best friend Ryan, that him and I always used to like, you know, watch movies, and he would introduce me to a lot of shit. I remember him absolutely loving that, and it was like cool because they kind of had powers and they could fight back, and it was like this whole like realm. And it's funny because like we're gonna talk this tomorrow night too, and I was almost surprised in feeling like that was like one of the lamest movies like out of the series. And I don't know why. Like, it's cool, but I just found myself around like, man, there's actually like surprisingly some great shit going on in these other movies that I never even gave a chance.
Which you mentioned like being on TV.
Uh-huh.
That actually is a good. I have to backpedal a little bit, because before we rented part 4, I remember it was like October of, I guess it would be 91. I'm gonna say October of 91. Gee, fuck you, Antonio. And it was October of 91, and we were trick-or-treating on Halloween night. And we would, like, back in that day, I mean, I take my daughter trick-or-treating now for, like, I don't know, like 30 minutes max, right? But back in those days, we would, like, go out trick-or-treating for, like, 4 fucking hours. Like, we would, like, seriously go to, like, 17 different neighborhoods in my town.
Yeah.
And so we came back at around like probably like 6:30 or 7. Like, we took a little break because it was actually kind of cold, and it was just we were just taking a break to empty our pillowcases, you know, that we had the candy and whatnot. And I remember part 4 was on this station. Me being the only person from Illinois, maybe you guys, I don't know if you guys had this, but it was UPN Power 50. Do you remember that? No.
I remember that. We had UPN.
Yeah, it was called UPN Power 50, and it was on Channel 50. They were playing part 4, right at the scene where he like sucks. He like sucks her insides out. You know, he's like want to suck face. You know.
Yeah.
And I remember that is kind of what made me want to rent part 4.
Oh shit. Okay.
But yeah, I didn't get into part 1 until like a few movies later. But,
I mean, so like right off the bat with the first movie, when you guys finally do discover, and now we're kind of going back and watching this, like one of the things that I think was a little ironic, because, and I don't want to get into particulars or like personals or anything. Antonio, you're a father as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the 3 of us all being parents, the one thing that like I started with part 1 and I'm watching, I'm like, dude, these parents fucking suck.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Holy
That's
shit.
That's a
like
major thing.
It's unfortunate.
Movies, and I think it's probably the worst in part 1. Like, I think, God,
because you have like Tina's parents that like she's like trying to come in and she's just like so bothered, and this dude is so fucking rock hard, and he's just like, come on, baby, we don't have time for this bullshit. You know, it's
dude,
like,
I mean, to his
fuck,
credit,
man, kill them.
Just saying, you know, like, yes, they do suck, but like, dude, if you're like in the middle of whatever, and like
you're not trying to
deal
with a nightmare.
Dream, it's like, fuck you. Get back to bed. It's only going to be another minute anyways, you know?
I just like it was one of those things where like obviously it wasn't supposed to be like an underlying theme. It was just something where now I think in this moment of my life, you know, where like I'm a parent and I'm watching these back, I'm like, holy fuck, like all of these parents fucking suck. And it's like kind of insane the fact of like Freddy is thrown into this realm that he's coming back to haunt all of these parents' children for like what they did. And then they're still fucking shitty, you know, like chasing alcoholism and like it's fucking insane.
It's kind of ironic because it's like they perpetuate this hopelessness that the kids have. Like no one believes them, no one really even helps them.
Yeah,
right. And it's like they literally got rid of this guy because of that.
Yeah,
like the parents got rid of this guy, this serial killer, this child murderer to like save their kids, and now they're claiming he's back, and they're just like, bullshit. No way.
Yeah. I've got this motherfucker's glove. I don't believe it, you know?
I mean, you know, to her credit, she did literally kill him. So
right.
You might be like, she might have some grounds to be like, yeah, I mean, I actually killed him, so he's not alive. So you're full of shit.
I mean, but it took like 3/4 of this movie for her to finally like tell her that, where it's like, no, you're not just a complete dumbass, you know, not having these fake things. It's like, god damn. You know,
I think
like,
that's like also like partly like one of the flaws in this movie too, is like some of the writing where it's like, I mean, dude, the parents are dumb to a fault, but also it's almost like you could have written them to not be so like uncharacteristically stupid. You know?
Yeah.
See, I thought that not the stupid part, but I thought that there was something intentional around like the parents not wanting to help the kids. Like that, like Wes put that in there, like more as like a certain like PSA for like, I don't know, maybe whatever was going on in the 80s with like kids and like, I don't know, just in general, like drugs or whatever was going on there. Like, you know, parents were just like not in tune with their kids. And maybe that was also like a thing too, that like maybe that older generation, like maybe our parents, maybe like their parents weren't like, you know, they were like, you're not absentee parents, but they weren't like as involved as like maybe generations to come, you know? And I thought that was intentional, because if it wasn't, I mean, then yes, it was pretty fucking bad. Like, I just didn't see it in that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
think,
know.
like,
I can see both points.
There's definitely like, it's definitely written that way on purpose, and it's good for the plot, because like you can't have like a movie where the parents are just like, oh no, that sucks so much. Let's all band together and kill him again.
Yeah.
Like movie would be over immediately. Like
we already did this once.
That would just be like all these kids and everybody's parents all versus Freddy, and then that would be it. Freddy would be done. But like but like I think that there's certain things about part one specifically where it's like, just use, like, I'm thinking about the example at the end where she's like literally in the house screaming bloody murder, and that fucking chief of police or whatever is across the street, and he's just like, it's gonna be all right,
we've got it handled. It's like
she literally goes into like 3 different rooms of the house and breaks windows, and like you can't see her literally breaking windows, screaming for help, and then eventually he's like, maybe I ought to get the sheriff. He like says it to himself.
I mean, I agree, but on the flip side of it, it could have been more in tune with the fact that, like, you know, she was going through like a mental episode, and like throughout that entire movie, like people were not like really acknowledging that at all, and it could have been more of like sort of like how people dealt with mental breaks in general back then, you know, too. They're just like, hey, like whatever, like she's nuts, like this, you know what I mean?
Which is crazy,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
it's like almost like
busting out
for sure
windows, you know. I mean, just completely irrational. Get her out of here, would you? This is interrupting my interview of the locals.
It's like, we're trying to actually get a good visual of this bloody ceiling across the street.
Yeah, it's still dripping, guys.
Yeah.
You see the plaster starting to get soggy. Oh, check it out.
Oh shit! Somebody shot her up. I'm getting interviewed over here. No, local news. Like, get her out of here, would you?
It's like the
It's like
cops.
they're
It's
they're
like the
collecting all the
cops
blood
version
in
of
like a
like
bag.
Rotten.com back in the 80s.
Yeah, they're like collecting all the blood in a bag in like a body bag so they can put it on that useless fucking gurney that they took into the house.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring something up real quick,
God.
John. Me and you have talked about this before, but I think it's like important for. I think it's important to like set it straight as we go into the series. Okay, Freddy, a child murderer, child molester, murderer,
Dude,
child predator.
that's the wild. That was like the weird thing to me was going through and watching these was okay, and this is kind of like maybe even go too far into this was I remember seeing the remake, and they clearly state in the remake he's a child molester.
Yeah,
So I remember, like, I had like faint memory of the original movies. I'm like, fuck, did they ever say he's like a child molester or like a predator or a killer? And I'm going through and I'm watching all these now, and I'm realizing that like, oh shit, it was he was a child killer. But then, like, even then, it kind of like makes me scratch my head when I look at some people that have Freddy Krueger like tattooed up their arm or on their throat, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like in general, I can appreciate, like I have a whole sleeve of horror tattoos, but it's monsters and stupid shit. Somebody that's like straight up a fucking child predator, I'm like,
All right, so
I don't
here's the
know,
thing.
dude.
Here's the
Weird.
thing.
it's
Like,
all good.
I'm a,
It's
I'm
all
a,
good.
I'm like a Freddy, like molester denier, like to the end of time because they never fucking mention it any time in all of the first 7 movies. Like
Right.
never. They never specify it. So you have to just think that all he really does is just murder these children.
That's it.
Which
Not a
okay.
line crossed.
I feel like I feel like in Dream Child it like gets kind of deep into. I thought that they,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they pretty much kind of seal the deal on that in that movie.
So
I'd
so
have to look at it again and see, but
so here's the thing. Here's the reason that I think I can tolerate the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Because I'll say this. This is an interesting thing that I think about sometimes. Whenever I'm watching like a modern TV show, anything like that, if like a kid, and it doesn't happen that often because I don't think that most writers can like stomach adding this to the plot. But like
Mm-hmm.
if like a kid gets like kidnapped or something like that in like a show, I'm like instantly like, this kid better not fucking die on the show or I'm not watching it anymore. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have a thing about like I don't want to see kids get hurt or killed in movies and shows. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just don't. It's like I forget what I was watching some show like last year. I think I want to say maybe like Kiefer Sutherland's in it or something. There's a movie about this guy that like becomes president automatically. You guys know what show I'm talking about?
24.
No, not 24.
Oh,
It's called
it's 24.
dude. You fucking all right. So I don't even know if it's Kiefer Sutherland or not, but it's about this guy that like there's like a state of emergency and he has to become president. He's like next in line to become president, and then the whole show is about him being president. But anyway, a kid dies on the show, okay? And like
Okay.
it's like someone's like 7-year-old or something. And dude, I had to stop watching the show. I was like, I fucking hate that they put this dead kid on the show.
Yeah.
Like it just upsets me too much, like legitimately. Now,
Was the kid president, and that's why he became president, or how did he tie into this?
the kid was president. He got assassinated. The NRA killed him on the show.
Okay.
He was a bit more of a leftist president. He's 8 years old. His parents taught him like leftist politics, and the NRA just wasn't having it.
Oh,
But
God.
yeah, I think that the reason I can tolerate and always have been able to tolerate the Nightmare on Elm Street movies is because it's all just part of the backstory. Like him murdering those. You're supposed to believe that he's killing little kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, probably like 3 and 4-year-olds, right? When it comes to like haunting the kids of the parents that killed them, it's like they're all teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
like they're all like 16 and 17 years old. I think that's just, I mean, it's still like, it's still fucked up. but it's just
Right.
like it's not as hard to digest, you know.
I mean, I agree too. And like as I get more familiar with them, I mean, other than the latest that like remake that they did with fucking Jackie Earl Haley, like aside from I mean that whole aspect too, like I feel like if they were to redo this series and had him actually with like a decent fucking team behind it, that guy would be pretty fucking creepy because he's been in some other shit too. Now the movies are blanking me, but he's been in like two other things that he's played like a fucking pedophile of some sort, and it's like he's fucking scary, and like I feel like he could have pulled that off. But I do agree honestly, and as I watch these, like it becomes a little lighthearted to me when I'm like watching it, and I'm not so like fuck this dude. I don't want to sit here through this shit. Like I don't know. It almost like it's weird. It's weird, but I actually like as I'm watching these, enjoyed these a lot more than I honestly like anticipated it. And this first one too, like I guess even aside from like Freddy, something within these movies, this first movie, what do you feel about the other characters? Were there certain people that were kind of annoying? Were there certain cats that stood out to you that you enjoyed? I mean, you got young Johnny, who was basically he was basically hired because of Wes Craven's daughter saying he was a hunk.
It's pretty dreamy. He's
You know
got
what I'm
like
saying? I think that was a quote, was she said that he was dreamy and that she was going to run away from home or some shit if he didn't hire her.
John would.
That's dude, that's a really interesting thing about
I said that.
like imagine like your career and your decisions are made based on
By
your
your
daughter's
child.
threats. Like your daughter's threats. Like, dude,
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, I think my life would be a lot different if every time Grace said that she wanted something, I just did it. Like,
Yeah.
might
Man.
be a little problematic.
Did you?
Yeah,
I mean, were there certain cats or certain like cast members in this that you found that you were like really rooting for that kind of stuck with you, or did you feel like it was really like Freddy that was outshining everything, even though he's only in the movie for like 6 minutes or some shit total?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio?
Honestly, like I had to think, like I have to like think about Nightmare on Elm Street without seeing any of the other movies, right? So like thinking
Right.
that like it was the only thing that existed,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually liked like all of the characters, and like specifically, I really liked Nancy a lot because I liked how they introduced Tina at the beginning, right? And like obviously she gets killed pretty early on, and then Nancy kind of takes over, which is really cool. I mean, I think if you look at it through the lens of like when the movie came out, I don't know if that was like a super common thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
like the switcheroo thing like that. But anyways, I really liked Nancy a lot, and I thought her character was really good. And I liked all the characters, honestly. Even Tina's boyfriend, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Um.
The guy that says he woke up with a boner or something like that, and like,
Yeah, Rod Lane.
Rod.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
yes.
Dude, I love when she's like, there's 4 letters in your name. How is there room on your joint? Or no, there's 4 letters in my name. How is there room on your joint for 4 letters? It's pretty sick burn. Like,
It's awesome, and it's real quick too. Like it's great. But yeah, I liked the group of friends a lot, and I liked the one person that I was surprised with how bad I thought the acting was, and because I think for the most part, I think the acting's pretty good in this movie actually.
Mm-hmm.
But and I think the cinematography is really good. But
Mm-hmm.
Marge, right? Nancy's
Yeah.
mom, like
Okay.
kind of surprisingly like bad actually. Like either it
Yeah.
was like overacting or like underacting. It just was really flat, and it like even watching it most recently because I've seen it so many times. I watched it again last night actually because I've just like I feel like I know the movie really well, and it was just something that like really bothered me even watching it again. It's just kind of like I was kind of hoping she would have died sooner, honestly.
Like, did you find yourself enjoying her more like earlier in the movie or in the final scene when she's a blow up doll getting pulled through the door or window?
Yeah, that seems actually like very funny. So like
Awful. Oh
yeah,
my fucking
yeah,
god,
we
dude.
yeah, it's
definitely have to talk about the ending of this movie at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
even prior
I don't
prior
think
to that, go ahead.
I don't think that. I mean, don't think the acting for that particular character is great, but I think compared to the acting in the rest of the movie, it's not much worse. I think that personally, I think it's just the character that sucks.
Yeah.
I
I
think that
I almost wonder too because like as I'm watching, like it almost seems like she's doing a good job with that, but she's also in this character where it's like you're not really fucking rooting for her. Like, you know, the shit that, you know, that they did, that's why these fucking kids are in the position that they're in the first place.
yeah. I don't know. I think that character is just like enraging. Like you want Freddy to kill her mom, like the whole movie. Like
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
I just thought she was just flat. Like I don't know. I just felt like she's a good actress. Like I've seen her in other things
uh,
before, and it just seemed weird. I don't know. It just seemed kind of just flat, especially when you look at the other characters. Like her dad, John Saxon, I think is
yeah.
his name, the actor. He
Hmm.
did pretty fucking good. Like
Yeah.
a lot of like the other characters. I think her friends. I think they're all like do a pretty good job. And I don't know. I thought she kind of felt out of place, but maybe it was done by design, kind of like you're saying, John.
Hmm.
yeah,
And I think that was the other thing too, that like with so many of these movies and so many movies that were like through the 70s and 80s, and especially I think that spawned into like franchises, like this was one that kind of hit that magic note where I felt like the acting was pretty fucking like on point. All of the younger kids, the parents that were even annoying as shit. John Saxon, who just kind of comes in as a badass and does what he has to do, shooting at
Yeah.
shit that maybe doesn't need to be shot at. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's just getting it done. I mean, I enjoyed that too. And like, you know, Nancy kind of carries it. And I thought it was like weird because I went through and watched the other, you know, like ones throughout the series too. And then part two has like, oh boy, that was like the, you know, like the lead character. And that kind of went against that trope of it being like a female, you know, in that lead. But, I mean, throughout this movie, I thought the acting was like pretty solid. I think the thing that stands out to me with like Nightmare on Elm Street movies is always the kills. And I think with like so many people, like if you could even say like what one, you know, kind of stands out to you guys in this first movie.
I want to just say real quick about the acting. Just I actually think that Johnny Depp is like really really good in this movie.
Yeah, he
Like
is.
Yeah.
you know, he's a good actor and like is, you know, no contest, like the most successful of anybody in the movie, right?
Mhm.
As an actor, but like you kind of can see it going all the way back to his first movie. Like he is
Yeah.
very good in that movie.
Hmm.
Like I think he's a great actor even then.
Hmm.
But I personally would start out. I think that obviously like Tina's kill is like the most brutal
That's
because it's like
harsh, dude.
it's like so
Yeah.
so fucking
Violent.
brutal.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt. But and then you know like there's lots of gore in Johnny Depp's kill too,
Uh-huh.
which is really just like you don't. You know what? I'm thinking about it, and it's like, do you see Freddy actually kill anybody in this movie?
Um,
Oh, yeah. I know you don't. You do not. You don't
You
because
really
no, I guess not.
Tina, Glenn, Rod, those guys, those were all done. And then, I mean, the only thing you saw was that when with Glenn, he kind of comes up and pulls him down, but that's it. And
Yeah,
then
right,
that's the
right.
same thing
true.
with Nancy's mom. So no, he doesn't. You don't actually see him kill
I think
anybody in
that
this one.
I think that even though it's not like even though it's kind of like pre-kill, I think the
Hmm.
entire scene leading up to Tina's kill is like maybe one of the creepiest, scariest, like actual
Yeah.
death, like chase slash death scenes in like a horror movie. Like
Yeah,
the whole thing with
absolutely.
like her coming out to the alley, him just all of a sudden appearing with these like long ass
So
arms,
sick.
which
Very
it's like
fucking
it's
creepy.
just it strictly plays on like things that people are afraid of, just like creepy shit that like doesn't need to make sense, and it's just like, man, I wish I didn't have to see that again. You know,
Yeah.
like this
Totally.
this dude who's all of a sudden has like extended arms, and then like when he starts running, and it's like holy shit, this is fucked up. And then like when he like tackles her over by the front door, and she like rips his
His
face
face
off, and it's
off.
just like a weird like jack-o'-lantern face, you know.
It's so
Yeah.
Man, that
insane.
whole scene is like I remember laughing at it as a kid, but it's like when I watch it now as an adult, I get this like, I get creeped out about the whole setting because like that's a really creepy house.
Yeah.
Like that's a really creepy front yard. It's like,
The alley right next to it and
yeah, I
the
don't. It's
shed.
like I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to get killed there. You know?
I had a long time ago, it was like a compilation DVD called Boogeymen, and it had like different like small clips of different movies, and the Nightmare on Elm Street clip that was on that was that introduction. And I remember that was kind of that, honestly, well, it was probably before that, but I feel like that was kind of like the note of me going back and rewatching that movie, was seeing that because I'm like, whoa, like this fucks, like this is, you know, absolutely awesome. And there's more, you know, to it, you know, from even there. But I feel like one of the kills that always kind of gets like looked over or doesn't often get mentioned and is kind of dark in its own sense too was Rod, and that whole like, and this is going to be weird. I mean, like the whole like suicide in jail thing, but it's like you almost have all of their friends who are kind of questioning him to begin with as to if he did this to, you know, to Tina, and if that was something that maybe, you know, he had actually done, and he doesn't even get to like speak his part, and he has everybody chasing him, and then next thing you know, he's just fucking dead. They're like, oh, well, he probably did that shit anyway. It's like, that sucks.
Dude, yeah, he got dealt a real bad hand.
Yeah, it was insane. They go to pull old boy down, and he's done for. Shit. God
Like,
damn.
it's
From the
like,
sheet too, those they couldn't have even been soft. They look stiff. Awful.
dude, what's funny is that when like when Freddy is like basically making like the makeshift like noose, you know, with the blanket, you could see like a coil, like a wire.
Yeah,
You could
like pull
see
it
how
up.
they're doing it. Like
Yeah.
if you look closely, you could see like that there's like a wire in there that's like, I don't know, just kind of like a
So
projection
I had never.
prop.
I'm sorry. I was just going to mention I had never known that like there was a weird kind of competition between Wes and Sam Raimi, who did the Evil Dead movies, and it was funny seeing that because like that made me think of the moment in Evil Dead when like the vine is wrapping up around her, and it's kind of corny, but it's like, you know, also equally eerie because something happens in part 3 actually with somebody stealing one of the gloves and has it in the basement of the cabin in Evil Dead 2. So it like
Interesting.
appears, and there's like
I
this
didn't know
whole
that.
like tie back, you know. So they go down, and there's like, I think in the first Evil Dead, there's like a Hills Have Eyes poster, which that ties to Wes Craven, and
Yeah.
then maybe like a Jaws, and then Evil Dead 2, you can see the glove somewhere downstairs, which I had to go back and watch,
That's awesome.
just to see. But I'm like, oh shit! So I don't know like what the kind of lore is behind that or where, you know, that came from, but I'm like,
I'm
oh fuck.
surprised you don't know more about that, Antonio, because you always know about shit like that.
Yeah, you know, the only thing that I knew about was, and this is off topic, was that like in Freddy vs. Jason, that like they had considered having Ash be part of that, which would have been at the time. I was like,
Whoa,
I don't know
really?
how. Yeah, like so, like in like an alternate version of the ending would have been Ash showing up at the end and basically like taking them both out. But I don't remember. I remember being like, I don't get why that. Where's the connection there or whatever? They're just trying to add like more things to it. Maybe that's what it was. I didn't know that connection that with Sam and Wes though. Honestly,
Hey,
So that's
real
funny
quick,
because yeah.
Static Tape Muskegon, tell us where the Evil Dead poster is in, like whose room is that in?
It's in the
Anyway, go on.
basement of the cabin.
No,
When
no,
they're
no.
going down and
He says there's an Evil Dead poster in Nightmare on Elm Street,
oh,
oh shit,
which I never noticed. So I'm just
my dude
waiting
Harrison.
on him. Anyway,
That's my boy. Yeah, yeah.
please
No,
go on.
no. It's funny too that you're mentioning. What was the last thing you were just mentioning, Antonio? Oh, the Ash vs Evil Dead. So there's
yeah.
actually a whole comic series that's Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and you mentioning that, I wonder if that's where that whole tie came in to where they made that series, because there's a whole, I think it's like 8 fucking episodes. I'll have to send you guys these, but they're fucking awesome. I'm not a huge comic guy, but like anytime I'm seeing like a mashup like that, you know, I had to check it out, and it's cool. I'd never heard that about Freddy vs. Jason. Oh, that would have been sick.
Yeah, it would have been sick because, yeah.
Damn.
Anyways, but yeah,
So in Depp's room or Nancy's
I
room?
was gonna say
Go back and look at
that
that.
that specifically for when you asked about like favorite death, to me it's definitely like the Glenn getting killed, just because
Yeah.
it just is kind of like I don't know, even rewatching it, it's just like this is fucking insane. And like when he gets pulled into the fucking bed, and like everything goes down in it as well, and
The TV and shit.
you're thinking like, what did he do to him? Like, did he like throw him through like in that movie The Mangler that Robert Englund played in, and like
Yeah.
like diced up his, and then like where the fuck happened to him? Like, what did he do? Like threw him in a
It's just
blender?
blood.
Like,
Dude, it's like the bed is like a garbage disposal.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
That's
like you're
fucking
throwing a
scary.
bunch of like old like spinach and carrots and shit down there, and then it just like decides to like hock it all back up.
dude.
There's actually a deleted scene in that Never Sleep Again where they talk about they had filmed like a post where he comes back up and he just like lands flat on his face, completely all bloodied up. But
Oh man.
they had taken that away where they're like, I think that is kind of giving too much to where the imagination of, you know, this kid going down and you don't know what the fuck happens. It's just a flood of blood coming out. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
just like right now, you know, us
This-
talking about it's like
I
that's
Story about-
effective,
the story about what happened with that stunt too is crazy. About how
dude.
they like had to do the scene twice, basically, or something. Where like initially like something got fucked up with the rotating room and like all of the gore like basically I think like spilled on.
It was like
every
going
foot, like
off kilter.
yeah, like the
Yeah, it was
entire
like spinning
set
around.
got fucked up or something. And they had to do it again, and they had to do it differently because like of a budget or something. But yeah,
Oh my God.
that's an upside down room. That's how they filmed the eruption of blood. Is that it's actually it was just filmed upside down, and they spilled the blood. You know.
And it was the same room for the Tina death as well. That was how they had like pulled that whole thing off with her being up on the ceiling and dropping.
Yeah.
I did look this up
Dude.
because I was wanting to know like how I thought, because as I've gotten older and I've seen that scene, it does look like it's like filmed upside down or something. So I looked it up, and to my surprise, this is like not really related to Nightmare on Elm Street as much, but like that room that they built or whatever that rotated is the room that they used for this movie that came out in the 80s called Breakin', the sequel, Breakin' 2. And when I saw that movie as a kid, it blew my fucking mind because my dad was like a breakdancer in the 80s and like with like a few friends and stuff. And so I grew up like hearing about all that stuff and seeing, and he showed me Breakin' one time. And when they were breakdancing on the ceiling and shit, like as a kid, I'm like, how could this have happened, you know? And so like then going back and seeing the connection with like that being like how they did Nightmare on Elm Street and did those like specific scenes was just like
shit, that's
nuts
awesome.
to me.
Dude, they need to make a movie where Freddy fucks up your dad and his breaking group. That's something.
Him and the Black Knights. That was
Something that would happen.
I mean, as far as, you know, and this is something I felt that was kind of interesting when I was watching this. How do you rank this as far as, you know, you have franchise movies, and I think of like Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How do you feel this ranks the first Nightmare on Elm Street versus, you know, some of these other popular franchise movies? Obviously, Halloween, even Evil Dead, you know, tossing those in there. Because I'm gonna be honest, like, this movie absolutely fucks. I will say the original Friday the 13th sucks. So I would even put this above that. I'm not huge into that movie at all. So I like was excited that this movie was fucking awesome.
I like where this is going. Usually I'm the one that's like, this sucks, or this is fucking bullshit. This sucks.
I know.
And you're like, the original Friday the 13th sucks.
Dude, I mean, maybe not sucks, but like as opposed to the original ones, I've never been able to get through that movie. It's fine, it is whatever, but nah. I need
Antonio,
Jason in it.
You take this first, and then I've got something I want to say about where it ranks.
I haven't thought about it like this. This is the thing that's kind of hard. So like,
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, I love that. You know, like it's perfectly fine if it's something where it's like, you know, I don't know, you know, where that's going with.
It's not better. It's not better than Halloween.
Okay.
It's not better than Halloween.
What about the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Where would you go? Would you hold?
Where it gets kind of hard. I mean, fuck. I mean, in my opinion, So we hadn't got to talk about this, but I wanted to talk about like the horror franchises too, since we're talking on the first one. Maybe we'll talk about this later, but like I could see an argument that it's like better than the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's probably outside of that, and maybe I guess the first Evil Dead. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I think it's definitely better than most of the first entries of most horror franchises, but those two would make it kind of like hard, I think, for people to like I think you could have an argue for either way, basically, for that. But I definitely
Sure.
think that it's not better than Halloween, though.
I
I
mean,
think
and I wrote down, you have Candyman, you have Hellraiser,
Yeah,
Child's Play,
definitely better than those movies for sure. And that's not a
yeah,
diss to them; it's just better, in my opinion.
I agree. I
let me
agree.
put it this way, okay? There's a reason, okay? There's a reason that Nightmare on Elm Street is like, okay, so like among like horror heads, like I know most people don't fuck with Nightmare on Elm Street. I feel like I
Yeah,
think that it's almost like taboo, you know, which is
Mhm.
another reason why like it's like fuck you, you know, like you guys are a bunch of fucking douches anyways. So it's like I'm glad you don't like this movie, you know, but I will say I think that there's a legit reason why Nightmare on Elm Street broke out,
Mhm.
and it's because it's almost like it's hard to it's hard to even discuss it in terms of like, is it better than these other horror movies, which all kind of have they have like uniqueness to them, right?
Mhm.
But there's truly nothing like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it
yeah,
just it's
It,
it's pretty unique.
super
it,
unique. Yep. Yep. I
and
agree.
and I think that like the Hollywood appeal to it is it makes it does make it less of like a legitimate horror movie when you get into like nerd shit for
Mhm.
sure. It does because like in my opinion horror is kind of like almost like anti-establishment in a way. You know, it's like you make a good horror movie and it's like it's supposed to be fucked up. It's not supposed to be digestible by everybody, you know?
Mhm.
But I think that Nightmare on Elm Street is just its own thing. And it's like
Yeah.
there are elements of the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie that are like a very legitimate horror movie in my opinion. Like there's things about it that are just
Yeah,
like, holy shit, this is like nobody ever did anything like this
Yeah.
before, right?
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
But
completely unique in that regard.
right, but beyond that, it's also like all the things that like somebody might not like about it as a horror movie, like also make it great. You know, it's just like a timeless out there fucking it's like Guar, you know? Like it's like oh yeah, Sepultura, Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, like Guar. Who's better? It's like I don't know, man. Guar is kind of like its own thing.
I feel like with these movies too, like one of the things as I was watching it was there's like a flow to it to where I'm not getting bored. I'm not feeling like I'm sitting through a movie that's, 2 hours long. There's certain times where I feel like there's certain, movies that I'll put on where I'm like, okay, this is kind of a dull edge. This is a moment that I feel like maybe they could have left out. And there's like a good flow to this, it is now nowadays standards as far as a kill every 5 minutes or some bullshit like that. It's not that by any means, but I still feel like it's entertaining enough and it's unpacking enough of a story to where like you're really kind of like at the edge of your seat, like holy shit, like I say, I was pretty fucking surprised at how much I dug getting back into this, and it made me excited to be able to watch the continuing series for sure. So solid
Also,
movie, dude, solid.
if you compare Nightmare on Elm Street to like other franchises that have like multiple movies, like
Yeah.
Halloween and Friday the 13th, first two that come to mind. It's like
I'm
Hmm.
taking Nightmare on Elm Street on both of
I
oh,
those. I'm
agree.
taking
for sure, but also
Nightmare
Well,
like
on Elm Street over
when you
there.
think of it as a series, like every Nightmare on Elm Street movie is so different,
Yeah,
so different. Like you cannot even say that one is like any other. And there's, I mean, we'll get to New Nightmare. I don't consider it part of the original series. So I mean, I would say there's six of them, right? All of them are extremely different.
New
Like
Nightmare fucks. I'm gonna disregard that right now.
you, you fuck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I agree.
Yeah, yeah, no, I gotta compliment you, man. Um, I think that like the Halloween movies and the Friday the 13th movies are maybe there's subtle differences, but they're exactly the same thing. Like
Yeah.
same thing, really. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like I literally couldn't. If you put on any Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and I might be biased because it's like I've seen them all a billion times, but like I think that for most people, if you put on a Nightmare on Elm Street movie and then you show them a different one, they'll be able to be like, "Oh yeah, that's this one.
Mm-hmm.
That's part four." They're recognizable. You
Yeah.
can't fucking recognize a Friday the 13th. I don't even care who you are. I don't care if you like those movies as much as I like these. Like, you cannot tell the difference between a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
And the only
I
reason I like
I
part
agree.
7 the most is because I can tell it apart from the others.
Friday the
But
13th, part 7. Oh,
yes,
that's right. You do, dude. Which is insane. That's like the one that drives me absolutely fucking
oh,
crazy.
because of
I'm glad we didn't talk about
the kinetic stuff.
because the movie fucking. It's
Dude,
fine.
there's a part in
I
that
don't want to
movie.
go. I don't want to go into this.
No, we're going into it. There's this part where Jason takes an axe and just slams it down on this chick's head and throws her on top of a TV, and
Which is sick.
That is better than any Nightmare on Elm Street kill.
Is the sleeping bag one? Is that in part 7 as well?
No, I think that's in like maybe one of the first 4.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. The telekinetic shit, the other aspects. Anyway, Nightmare on Elm Street, which I'm glad that we're talking and not fucking Friday the 13th part 7 because I'm not in love with that movie.
I like the Friday the 13th series, but
I agree.
I mean, I think that some are more boring than others, you know. But
Yeah.
like I think, but that's why I like kind of getting back to like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I consider all of them, including New Nightmare, as part of them. Not the remake though, like as like as far as enjoying the totality of it, because
Uh-huh.
like not to be like a nerd about it, but I kind of think that like most things, like the creators and the people that kind of started it, I think are the ones that have I think the most valid voice in any type of art that they're making.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I put more credence to any of those over anything else, right? So anything that Wes is a part of and has a hand in, like this is sort of his idea. It's sort of like John Carpenter, right? And like Halloween and how his opinion on like the series like that because it was like his thing, you know. So like that doesn't mean that it like makes anything else worse or anything like that. But it gives me a little bit more credence in terms of like when I'm like viewing it right through the eye of the artist. But I thought about this and I do think that since we're going to talk about all of these movies over the next like month, the next three movies that we selected, I just wanted to say that like thinking about this, I really think that the Nightmare on Elm Street series is better than Halloween series in totality, right? Like I would take, even though I think Halloween's better than a Nightmare on Elm Street, I would take all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies over the Halloween movies. And I would do that the same for like Friday the 13th. I think it'd be hard for Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I think that the first like 4 Texas Chainsaw Massacres I actually really like. So all the way up until like what is that, the 95? I forgot what that's called. The
Matthew
new
McConaughey. Next Generation, I think.
Next
Yeah.
Generation. Yeah, I think those are. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is like one of the
Oh
best
man,
4 sequels
it's
of all
awesome.
time. So like, but so that would be hard. And then I actually like the Evil Dead series as well. But like, so I think it would be tough. But I think if you look at like the totality of the series, it's unbelievable. And I think Freddy, what makes Freddy is that people try to put him in this box of like that he's like like this is a slasher movie, right?
Uh-huh.
And I get the whole definition of like a slasher movie and why like that would fit in there, but he's not comparable to like Michael Myers or like a Jason because those two are very comparable, right? In terms of
Mm-hmm.
like characters, right? Freddy is different. Freddy's a monster. He's a slasher. It's more than that, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think it's just to me it makes it maybe a little bit more timeless, right? Because it lives in your dreams, right? And like who doesn't have nightmares, right? And like to a certain extent, like and maybe not by definition, but like dreams that are not fun. We'll put it that way, right? And so I don't know. I really think that this first entry into the series and during the time period coming out, what, 84 year of T1,
Yeah.
John? So like a pretty big year for cinema in terms of like movies. And I think like Freddy's the scariest looking, like his makeup, everything is the scariest out of all of the movies.
It's top notch. Yeah.
So to me, I think it's just kind of like I don't know. I think it's an end all be all, like, knockout, like slam dunk horror movie. Definitely like one of the tops for sure.
I think
I agree.
that Freddy. I think that Freddy is like he's like a game show host. Like,
and at one point, kind of is. Yeah.
He obviously scares some people, but like part of the thing that makes it unique is that, like, I mean, he's literally like laughing like all the time.
Yeah.
Like fucking Mike Myers doesn't even know how to speak.
Yeah.
Jason literally doesn't know how to like do anything except kill. Like Freddy is a dude that you could like go out for like burgers with. He'd be like, give me the double. Like, he'd be like, give me some cheese fries. Like Freddy is like a dude that you could like.
He's kind of one of the guys.
Go to like Fuddruckers with or something. Like he's amazing. He's like you want to be his friend.
You never mind, and his backstory. Forgive, for what's in the past, and just go out for a burger.
It's
let's not. Let's not weigh on this. Okay, forgiveness.
That's why he's such a well-written villain, because you've got this backstory, and it's like you don't hate this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, but John, to be fair, we're only really talking about the first movie, and you really don't get that sense of Freddy at all in this one at all. Like not even in the slightest. Like he's like, no, fuck you. I don't want to. I'm not chilling with you.
No,
I'm
dude. He's like
now. Like, no, I'm
yeah,
good.
but it's all kind of like zany at the same time.
There's still kind of like a tongue in cheek to it. Yeah.
Oh, for
in
sure.
The first scene, he's like, she's like, Tina's running away, and he's like, hey, watch this. And he like cuts his fingers off.
It's awesome.
And he's like,
right.
Is it just like, he's like,
the green ooze coming out and shit.
Yeah. Like, who cuts their own fingers off as if it's like you're doing some type of a magic trick?
Yeah.
Dude.
I don't know.
And I was going to mention too, because I thought about, and I actually have the movie playing while we're talking and kind of refreshing different things in the background too. But there's an Evil Dead poster in wait, not the poster. When Glenn is going into Nancy's room, she's watching the first Evil Dead on her TV before she ends up turning it off.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. So that was the other tie that I was forgetting about, because I was trying to think. I was like, I know that there's something fucking else here with it too. In for anybody else, because I don't want to, have this go into far into our night and all this shit, but kind of touching on even like that first like Freddy's Nightmares episode, No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's sick because it goes back into the backstory. But the thing that I thought that was hilarious, it shows the trial, and it says that he got off because they didn't read him his rights when they arrested him. I'm like, motherfucker, he is guilty of killing 20 kids, and he got off because they didn't read him his rights.
Yeah, and then in the movie, the movie, they say they didn't sign the search warrant in the right place.
Search warrant, yeah.
And it's like,
oh, really?
It's like,
oh shit! I guess I didn't pick up on that.
You kept someone for murdering 20 kids. Like, there is literally as flawed as our justice system is.
I know, it's like, I'm not a cop, but I was like, I'm pretty sure that this is wrong, even in 1984.
Dude, there is like no technicality that exists that would free someone from that.
No,
like,
absolutely not.
They could
Very funny.
Come up with something better.
Very funny. If anybody hasn't seen that though, also it was online. I found it. I know, like back in the day, I'd watched it too because there's a bunch of terrible episodes in that. But that original one, kind of tying into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, also Toby Hooper directed that, and it's a fucking awesome episode. It's really cool, corny in that sense, but there's a lot of really cool shit in that episode too. So yeah, I mean, like overall, I honestly, like I say, I am super excited that I dug back into these, bought the box that have these on hand now to, pick them up throughout the Halloween season, and it kind of in wrapping up these episodes here, we got 3 different categories that we're going to be talking out here. So we're talking the meta as hell moment. We've got the scene so good I could eat donuts on camera, and the perf kill for number 1. So the meta as hell moment. What comes to mind as far as, you know, something meta from this movie? What I picked up on, and maybe this isn't even meta because I don't know if I even fucking understand
what the
that
fuck
word
does
means.
meta mean?
Meta means self-aware. Like,
Yeah,
like, it's like
right.
you're self-aware, like of something. Like, you're a character that's self-aware of something. Like, think of, like, I don't know, something like, think about Scream, or like even like the Truman Show, right? You're like self-aware of like things that are happening, like
That you're involved
you're
in an act of fiction of some sort.
exactly, yeah.
So the thing that I picked up on is that Johnny Depp's character is actually wearing the jersey with the number 10, and that's the same jersey that old girl's wearing, Rose McGowan in Scream.
Oh,
Ah,
fuck!
nice.
Oh, God, I didn't know that.
Dude, that is awesome. There's quite a few. I mean, Scream is all references.
Oh, dude,
you know,
dude.
obviously.
Absolutely.
But like, I mean, dude, another thing is that it's the police chief in Scream is the same as
Same guy.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Same actor.
Yeah, I know. I think it's so sick, and like, especially kind of looking a little bit closer at like smaller things like that. Even when you go back earlier in the movie, and God, why am I fucking Johnny Depp's character, Glenn, right?
Glenn, yeah.
Yeah, Glenn coming into the window, you know, and like kind of scaring Nancy. You know, it's very reminiscent of watching Scream and like having old boy coming in the window and shit. And you know, it's just like, you see more and more things that kind of tie into different shit. Like, you know, it's almost kind of funny when you look at like Wes Craven's like work and smaller details. And it's like, this motherfucker rehashed like 90 things throughout his career, probably more.
That was like his thing, though. Is he like?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was like one of his favorite things to do, was like try to do basically what he did with New Nightmare, and then really more importantly and more effectively probably with the Scream series, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you guys knew this, but in the storyline, did you guys know what the storyline for Freddy's 2 was supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It was basically what it was like Freddy was, now he was going to terrorize, like, basically it was basically New Nightmare, but terrorize the people that filmed and that were part of the first film. That was what Freddy 2 was supposed to be, which ended up being basically what we had for New Nightmare.
Oh shit! Really?
So that was something that he wanted to do for a really long time, which I thought was interesting. But as far as like meta as hell moments, the only thing that really jumped out to me, because I don't know if it was like was like intentional or not, was when Nancy and Glenn are walking back in the evening somewhere back. I don't know. They're walking towards their house or something like that, and there's that scene where like Glenn sort of like comes out of, like, it's not really a hedge, but it's some sort of like bush that's right there, and it looks similar to like the Halloween when Michael Myers is like kind of coming out. So I thought, I thought maybe that might be like intentional, but I had to dig real deep for that, because I was like, what else could it be? I didn't know about like the Jersey thing. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I loved learning that. That's great.
Sick. I mean, and like I say, it's cool kind of, you know, like digging into these things and kind of watching, and, you know, throughout the years of watching movies, and just to see. And it was actually one of those things where I saw that jersey and I'm like, where the fuck have I seen that from? And I pulled up different pictures of Wes Craven and shit, and Rose McGowan popped up. I'm like, motherfucker, no shit.
That's cool.
So, yeah, kind of fun. I mean, as far as the idea, the scene's so good I could eat donuts on camera. So I had something, you know, just as far as something that sticks out to us. And the scene that I had on for this category, which was, for anybody watching, it was just a small reference of something that Antonio was making fun of John when I was interviewing him. He was eating a donut on camera, and I thought that was a very pleasant moment. You were very happy. You were excited.
Dude, just a quick backstory. The reason that I was even eating that donut is because my wife had just gotten home from work, and every 2 to 2.5 months, she brings me home this donut I really like that's at this place next to where she works. And that night she brought that home, and I needed her laptop to oh no, I didn't need her laptop. I don't know why I just didn't start doing the episode with you before that, but
Yeah.
she got home, gave me
Oh.
the donut, and then I'm there. There we have it.
Sheer enjoyment, dude. Sheer enjoyment. And I think that's where this is going to spill into my mention of the ending of the movie. Old girl getting pulled through the window, clear fucking rubber doll. Honestly, like, I guess even to wrap up this whole conversation is the ending of this movie. The ideas that they had, the things that they kind of wanted to do, I fucking hated this. For as much as I love this movie, you had this silly ass scene that I just thought like just kind of took the whole thing out of it. I liked the jump ropes. I liked the car. It was cool because like their reaction was actually true to that hood or that roof of the car slamming down. It wasn't supposed to happen that hard. So like they're all genuinely fucking shocked at like, holy shit, why did that happen so hard and so loud and fast? I thought that was cool. But the rubber doll killed it.
I will say, for this being one of my favorite movies, I seriously think that everything from the start of, I mean, him okay, so burning Freddy climbing on her mom, fine. I think that's kind of cool because it's like brutal or whatever.
Sick.
You know, immediately after that, from the moment they start to sink into the bed together and disappear into the bed, I seriously think this is one of the worst worst endings ever made in a movie, like ever. It is such a shitty ending. The part where he comes back and is like taunting her, and she's like, "You're nothing." Like this movie is not deep. It's just fucking not. Like it's deep because people have nightmares and people get scared of the boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. We didn't need to turn into this like turn your back on bullies. Like this ending is trash. Where he like
Bummer.
tries to like stab her and he just like melts into the air like because she like
It's like
also,
a Nintendo
it
effect.
also completely like fucks with the entire, like all of a sudden she's awake, but it's a dream still. Like the whole thing gets fucked up by this ending.
Yeah.
It's a bad ending.
I don't, and even
Is
that
it
part.
is it worse than the ending of the first It?
Whoa,
Like the first version of It? 'Cause
brother.
I think it's worth the conversation.
I can't even remember the last time I watched. See, with It, I usually end up watching the first half of the movie when they're all kids.
Exactly.
And I think that's like a pretty flawless first half. Like it's like super entertaining. It's got this like incredible vibe that like takes
Coming
you
of
back
age,
to like
like it's cool.
what's that?
Like a very coming of age, like it's really cool.
Yeah. It's creepy and it's got all that. And then I always got bored in the second half and just eventually turned it off.
Yep. It is awful. I would probably. I mean, the original It would definitely stand against that. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I would say, is better. Halloween, better. Trying to think of. I'm really excited for tomorrow because we're talking about part 3, and I have a particular part 3 in mind that will absolutely slay any other. And I'm really excited to talk that. But as far as part 1s,
Dude, the
and
ending is so
endings, yeah, it really does.
What do you think about
it's
the
kind of a
ending,
fucking
Antonio?
bummer.
Because you like weird deep shit.
Yeah, but see, I don't think that's really that deep, honestly. I think it's kind of. I thought it's kind of lazy. I would have liked a much more like either dramatic or subtle ending. The one thing that we'll touch on, like probably more on tomorrow, is that I do like the fact that Nancy lives. Like I do like that. I that's something I definitely wanted to see happen. But I would have liked a much more subtle ending and not something so ridiculous. Like if it would have just ended like you guys are saying with maybe like the top of the convertible like coming down and you see that it's striped or something, but you don't really know. Like I think that would have been like cool. But like
I agree. I totally agree.
But that's what's so weird about it. It's like, okay, her mom's back alive.
Yeah.
Her friends are back alive. We know that Nancy Nancy lives because she returns for part 3. Like, what the fuck actually happens at the end of this movie?
Well, see,
Why is everybody alive again?
I even think it's cool actually because of the fact of you have Nancy's mom for the first time. Like she's very up, she's very chipper, she's very kind of excited. Like you're like, what the fuck's up with her? And she's kind of even I think looking at her like, is everything okay with you? And then she's going out to the vehicle, and you see all the friends again that are all fucking sitting in there, and it's like, whoa, what is going on? If it would have ended there with them driving away, and you see the stripes and maybe the girls with the jump ropes, and not the doll thing,
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
I think at that point it alludes to it as being like, was this a
Yeah.
dream? Is this a dream? You know what I
Yep.
mean? Whereas like then when you do the thing with the mom or whatever, it's just sort of like, well, if it was a dream, then why did you kill her again? Like,
I think they wanted to solidify the fact of that Freddy wasn't completely gone, and so that was where they have him pull her in with you see the glove and then the laugh at the very end because the studio wanted to make it open for a sequel, whereas when Wes was originally trying to write out the movie, he didn't want it that way, and it was supposed to end very differently. But they had pushed for that.
I would have been livid.
Dude.
Basically ruining my fucking movie. Like I think
true expertise.
It would have been fine. It would have been fine without that scene. They could have still made sequels to it. It just wouldn't have been fucking shitty as hell, you know?
that scene basically it's almost like what happened with Game of Thrones, where it's like one of the best TV shows like ever in the history of everything, and then the last 2 seasons just like fucked it all up, and it's like everybody remembers that now. And it's like that.
I've never seen it. Is it great?
Well, I thought it was pretty excellent until then, but I mean, like the whole movie is fantastic, and then like the last like 3 minutes of it are just like it almost like loses its credibility all at the end, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
I agree.
It's kind of something I just overlook because it's like, yeah, I don't want to let that ruin it, you know.
All right. So we're wrapping on this note here. We're gonna all just pitch in our thing here. We're gonna be back tomorrow talking part 3. I'm very excited for that. But the Perf Kill. What are we going in for the Perf Kill? What are you gonna which of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 are you gonna say is the perfect one that people need to check out?
Gotta go with Tina.
Boom. I think it might. Antonio, what do you think? You're looking different.
Glenn, but Tina is really good. But I go Glenn. Yeah.
I think it's honestly it's a blend of both. I think that's really like the draw to these movies is being able to come back and be like, how are people going to die and what are going to be the practical effects?
Yep.
And this segues us into tomorrow, which like some of the shit that goes on in part 3 is absolutely fucking insane and all practical and a huge high five. So yeah, this is sick. I love it.
Yeah. I'm mostly excited to talk about part 4 because that one is just like my favorite of all of them. But part 3 is like really, really close. Like really close.
Sweet.
Tomorrow will be a lot of fun.
That's my sentiment on the Inverse actually, and I rewatched them. I binged those like basically because I don't watch 2 as much anymore. I actually haven't watched 2 in a while because I don't.
2
but
was awesome.
I think 2. The reason why 2 just like doesn't like I just don't like it as much is because I want more. I just want more Freddy, and I really hate like those movies that like they don't show the like think like Jason Goes to Hell like that kind. I think it's just kind of like boring, and it's like I don't know. But anyways, I binged 3 through 6 on Thursday evening, and I still. There are
you watched 4 of those movies in a row.
I was traveling, so I like basically had to like I was in the airport. I'm in the airplane, and then I'm back in the airport. And I'm driving to where I need to go to. Then I'm there at night, right? So, but anyways,
beautiful.
There's more things about 4 that I like really love, and there's still things that I just still really bother me about 4. But at least it'll be cool to be able to talk about both of those back to back because I'm the same. I think they're both very close to me, but I think 3 pulls out like more. But I want to say too, because we probably won't mention it again. We're not going talk about these movies for anyone that's like listening to this, but like rewatching like Dream Child and Freddy's Dead for whatever reason now, I have I have a newfound appreciation for both of those movies. Whereas both of those really, I don't know, I've always saw them as being like kind of slogs to watch, and there I like the kills in Freddy's Dead, but like I actually like both of those movies. Like I really
I
do. So I
watched it
just
again. I thought part 6. I was like, man, we might have fucked up not talking about this one.
Dude, part six is might be my second favorite out of all of them.
People
That
hate
movie
that
is
one
awesome.
because people hate that one because they basically rewrote the series. Like they basically just like and it was kind of weird at the daughter thing and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like, but there's aspects to it that are like really cool and like really enjoyable that I like. And I think like it's the last one before New Nightmare that I think like it's shot like better than I think the ones that came before it, and it's not as choppy of like a storyline either. So, anyways, I sound like a real fucking movie snob here, but like I'm really not. But I don't know. I do enjoy those. I did enjoy them more watching them this time around than before. I wanted
Since
to.
we're not going to talk about it anyways, I just want to say part 6 has arguably a worse ending than part 1.
Oh, totally.
It is so fucking bad.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
it is.
God damn.
Yeah, the whole like the bow to him or whatever, and he like then the
It's
head
over.
thing
It's
and
over so fast, and like the movie
dude,
ends like
the
immediately.
the
The
stars.
the X-ray glasses appear, and she's like, looks like she's fucking high or
Dude,
something. She's like, Freddy's dead.
yeah, and then it just like and then it just cuts right.
Actually, you know what? Actually, it is kind of awesome. Never mind.
I mean, it's pretty slick, but I think that is kind of one of those things, especially when they're saying like this is Freddy's dead, and it's kind of supposed to be like proclaimed even in the poster art and everything. It's like when that's the finale of like this whole series, like fuck, man, I hope this isn't it.
Dude, and one thing I also wanted to mention too, as we like end this, because we won't get mentioned again. I actually think they need to reboot this entire series. Like I'm ready for it to be rebooted, honestly, and not in the way that they did it in 2009, but like think about it. Now, John. Look, you're looking like all crazy to me. We're encroaching on. Listen, we're encroaching on like almost 40 years, right?
It's insane.
Of the first movie, and it hasn't like they tried to reboot it in like the worst way possible. What was it, 2009 or 10 or whatever it was? But like, I mean, that was terrible. Before then, the last Freddy movie, if you don't consider Freddy vs. Jason the part of that canon, was New Nightmare. That was 94. That's 30 years ago. So like, I'd like to see what this would look like because I still think it would be scary to people in modern times.
Dude, let me get this fucking straight. This is a great way to, dude, you know what you're doing? You're making this episode of Lo-Fi Horror Guy like lose credibility all the way at the end of the you're continuing this. This episode's gonna be bullshit after this. So thanks a lot.
Let me make it worse. Let me make it worse. Okay, one of the things that's going out there for the longest time is that they're wanting to make it basically like another the new Halloween series where it picks up 40 years later and they bring back Heather Lang, and I'm just like, we've done that 6 fucking times now.
No,
like,
I don't think that. I don't think
we have to rewind.
That's not the way.
A few minutes.
That's
we
not
have
the
to
way.
rewind a few minutes. Antonio, are you seriously saying that they should reboot the Nightmare on Elm Street series and that would be a good thing?
Yes.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
No, man. Think about it. All right. Think about all the movies that have been done. They did a remake. Actually, the Friday the 13th remake was actually pretty good, but people don't like it.
It'll be even worse than the remake they just did 10 years ago.
I don't think so. I think if you're more sensible around it and like I don't know. I just think that all I'm trying to say is like maybe I'm not trying to say that they should reboot it, but I'm curious to see what this would look like in 2024 because I don't know if maybe Freddy lives forever, right? But like those movies are like 40 years old, so like by the time my kids get into it, that's like probably a 50, 60-year-old movie, right? Think about the movies that we watched when we were younger. Were we watching 50, 60-year-old movies, like horror movies? Probably not.
Dude,
I wasn't. I'll tell you that right
dude,
now.
you know what? I'm sorry. What you're saying right now, it sounds like as if someone were to say like, dude, you know what would be a great thing, because it's so many years ago now. Like, I think DYS and SSD should both release another album.
I didn't say another album. It'd be great if there was a band that sounded like DYS Brotherhood era that was putting out music now, right? Like, that's what I'm saying, is that I'd like to see what it would look like. I'd like to see what it would look like in 2023, like what a Friday or a Nightmare on Elm Street movie would look like.
Here's the thing that I could say from like movies that I've been seeing in the recent, and kind of the appreciation is, I feel like, in agreement to what Antonio is saying, if they were to remake it, the time right now might be a time to where it's actually appreciated, and you still have things like practical effects that are being taken into effect nowadays. There's been certain fucking movies that are lower budget that have been, dude, bringing back soundtracks.
What would it be? A Blumhouse production?
Look, man, that's what I'm saying. Not for it to not be that. You know what I'm saying? If we can bring back soundtracks and have Creed, you know what I'm saying? We were talking about this, okay? Having, you know, a good mixed bill.
Dude, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
Look, if they, I'm gonna submit to somebody that they reboot A Nightmare on Elm Street. They have a Creed song on the soundtrack. Maybe, you know, bring Kelly Rowland back. You know what I'm saying? Don't let her die.
All right, listen. I'm just kind of like appreciating the silliness of what you're saying right now. But I will ask both of you this. And this
it wasn't supposed to go that silly.
This is like the best way I can put this. How many bad remakes do you need before you agree with me that this is never, ever a good idea?
But there are also some that are fucking sick that actually do end up working. But I will say, to the credit of the original movie, that the original movie is so good to where if they never touched it and just left it be, I'd be happy with that. I think all of us can agree on it.
I honestly just want to see more Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I feel like for every franchise that has been beat to fucking hell at this point, Nightmare on Elm Street hasn't been. And I'd love to see it beat the fucking dead.
What the fuck?
It's like a vengeance on
it.
Like, yeah, a lot of buildings have like exploded unexplainably. Like this building I love, like they should do that too.
It would never affect like my love for the original, never. But you know, I mean, it's like I'm here for it. You know, it's like I've watched every Terminator movie that comes out.
It wouldn't ruin it wouldn't ruin the original, but it would. I'm not worried about like jeopardizing the original. I'm just saying, like, who the fuck has time for this like hypothetical reboot of the Nightmare on Elm Street series? Like, it would be. There is zero chance that it would be good.
It would. I think there would be zero chance it would be good for you. But think about this. Think about think about the horror movies that are popular with people nowadays, right? Because this used to be a really popular franchise. This shit like the fucking, what is that, The Conjuring and like the Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
those are fucking awful
movies. Let's have James Wan direct it.
Awful movies. No.
Have you seen Malignant?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I like Malignant.
Dude.
Basket case, modern basket case.
Yeah. Still sick though. I could say. Now, like, what if, okay, and John, because I know that you're highly on the defense of this, so maybe you won't be, you know, more in depth with this, but what if they were to do like a newer movie and it expanded on Patricia Arquette coming back?
Dude,
oh God.
That's like, okay.
Is that even worse?
Perfect example. Mm-hmm. James Cameron obtained the rights to produce this again, right? Mm-hmm. Still couldn't be done. Still got, like, still fucking terrible. Like, if you have the 2023 or I guess 2020 whatever when this comes out, if you have that tinge on it, it will be bad.
well, here's the thing too. Is like I like, just for your example there, that would be awful. I wouldn't want to see that either. But all I'm trying to say is that I'd like to see more Nightmare on Elm Street movies. That's it. And I do want to say too, before it like gets lost in the sauce, James Wan awful, and anything he has ever done is awful, but I do like Malignant. But everything that he's done, like anything that he's associated with, like all those movies, I think are really bad. So just throwing that
I've
out
had
there.
I've had
Shit.
people tell me, I've had people tell me in these modern times of ours that The Conjuring is scary and that I should see it.
Yeah.
And you still haven't?
No.
No, I saw it.
You didn't love it.
No, I didn't love it, but I also I also don't know how anybody could physically consider that a frightening movie. It's
But
like
that's like
how
low
many movies
hanging
do we
fruit
need to
these
see
days.
about people moving into a fucking old house?
I
Or
agree. I was gonna say nothing
or
original by
possession
any means,
movies.
or possession. There's not like a whole originality behind that. I can't say I hated those movies, honestly. The first couple, as far as the branch offs with
This fucking
other
guy.
ones,
This
brother.
fucking
I'm here to be a fan.
guy.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean,
I'm first and foremost. I'm here to be a fan. You
Yo,
know what I'm saying? I'm gonna.
as much as I might disagree with you on some of this stuff, I will say that no one fucks, no one messes with the lo-fi horror guy. The
no one.
the lo-fi horror guy is fucking legit. Dude, I fucking love your show.
Highbrow.
Dude, you do this
Appreciate
shit
it.
better than anybody. I don't know why your show is not like viral.
Brother,
Like
it doesn't need to be. I prefer it. You know what I'm saying? When we went to the video shops and the old record stores back in the day, they didn't have huge prints in the fucking news and in the fucking papers and all that shit. Let a cool thing be a cool thing. That's it. We're
that's
here
fair.
doing this. I love it.
And you know what?
That's all I can ask for.
Maybe in 40 years, maybe Antonio can suggest that somebody reboot your awesome your awesome your awesome podcast that like had a really good run. Like maybe he can suggest that James Wan like reproduce it.
All right. Look, let me let you fellas go for the night. We're gonna come back tomorrow with part 3. I'm super excited. This has been fucking absolutely awesome. Later this week, Friday, I'm gonna have this airing on my YouTube page, and then part 3 will be this next Friday. So every Friday in October, we're gonna have a new episode on YouTube. Take care, fellas. I can't wait to do it again.
See you tomorrow.
Man. Thank you. Peace.
Have a good night.
You're so lo-fi, a horror guy, yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.